Instead of believing that, yeah, there is a top of the pyramid. There are people that globally work together to, of course, control people. And so some people say, hey, you know what? It's all about money. What is money? They set the standard for money. Money is a tool to control. So the whole theology, ideology of control, money is a part of that. There are other aspects of control other than money, other than dollars and cents or yens and wons and euros. It's just simply one example of how they try to gain more control. Of course, gain more resources, dominate this land, shape this way. It's more than money. It's an ideology. It's as old as man. Empires attempting to dominate, invade, rape, control other women, other men, other children. It's a part of what we've been going through for some time. So please don't act surprised. We're just simply seeing what happens when you add technology into the mix. We're just simply seeing what happens when collectively millions of people choose to fall into a fake left-right paradigm. You know what's funny? One of the arguments, those of us activists that were against the whole NSA Big Brother wiretapping of the Bush administration, again, the popular defense against that, you wouldn't want to give a dictator or a potential wannabe dictator total control of the country, even if you think he's an angel, because you know what? One day somebody might get elected in this country or be put in power in this country that has an agenda of taking over this country in a coup, in a false flag or something else, where they invoke some sort of a national declaration of emergency, and those controlling the federal government take over resources on the local level. Now, of course, we were against it when Bush was the president, and we're still against it now that Obama's the president. It has nothing to do with them and whether you think they're angels straight out of the womb of Jesus Christ, him or herself. It's still wrong to be spying on people in the bathrooms or in the airports, or to be putting your hand down the pants of a woman or her child in the airport. It's wrong, and it's going to continue to stay wrong, and we're going to keep talking about how it's wrong. As we live in a world where many people say, oh, it's what we have to do to be safe. Oh, what if the bomb was real at Pioneer Courthouse Square? Well, it wasn't real. Thank God the FBI did not choose to use a real bomb. You know, they wanted to use a real bomb in 1993. Yes, the FBI, it's well known. It was on CBS with Dan Rather. You can find it on YouTube, where it came out in the transcripts that the FBI coached the guy on cooking the bomb. The guy found out about it. That was a real bomb, and he switched the location. And instead of placing the truck where they wanted him to place the truck, he put it somewhere else, causing less damage. Of course, it was still a terrorist attack that paved the way for events to take place later on in this country, but the FBI's fingerprints, it's admitted now, were all over that operation. So let's go forward into some other things. I want to mention this as this FEMA drill is about to kick off in, let's say, about 8 days. It starts on May 16th, 2011. Again, it's a coincidence. We have these major disasters taking place in the South at the very same time they're holding their drill. Now, Mississippi businesses closed due to rising water. There's also other reports about the Army War College, Army Corps of Engineers blowing up levees to protect towns from being flooded. Of course, we have people living in lower elevation where it's more likely to flood, but the cost was tons and tons of acres of farmland being flooded to save a few people. And so we have to keep all this in perspective when we look at where we choose to live. And the fact of the matter is, this world is going through some amazing earth changes, and we're going to have to, again, work together, of course, think independently, not expect FEMA or the Red Cross to be there to save us, even though they're proposing that they will be able to potentially help some of us by using rare resources, Federal Reserve notes, money printed out of thin air to hold these massive, massive drills all over the United States, which, if you really look at these drills, it's taken over farmland in the event of a crisis. It's literally taken over resources, and there were people that were involved in the Top Off 4 drill here in Portland, Oregon, that were shocked to find out that some of the deeper plans of Top Off 4 was seizing farmland in Forest Grove and places in the out west and other locations. And so it's odd to see Harold Camping being given so much mainstream coverage. Who's he? He's a pastor. He's a pastor that's saying the world is going to end on May 21st, 2011. Now, you want to talk about people believing absurd things. Again, I can't really decipher through their alleged Bible code why they believe it's going to be May 21st, 2011, but the timing of this, so many people looking at this date and what's taking place right now, I find to be very, very bizarre. This is Harold Camping, and he is on the TV screen before you. I found one other interesting detail about this particular man and some of the events that he's been hosting. And by the way, that billboard you saw earlier is actually it's something that's been paid for, and it's being shown in the state of Tennessee at this time. One interesting detail is that a member of Homeland Security was in attendance at a rally of some of these more radicalized Christians believing that May 21st will signal the end of the world. They also say that October 21st, 2011 is the date when Earth shall be destroyed by fire. Fire. So these are some of the oddities. Why is Homeland Security in attendance at this rally when we know about Romans 13? Romans 13 hit the mainstream news several years ago when it came out that Homeland Security has been visiting many churches. Of course, those would be 501c3 churches. And when you're one of those, you can't be political. You can't speak out about the satanic Babylonian Empire. You can only preach what you're allowed to preach. So many pastors have been given money to preach Romans 13, which the misinterpretation, the very popular one, is give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The government would not be in place if it was not God's will. If it was not God's will, the government would not be in place. So when the disaster comes, give your guns to the federal government, and you will be working directly for God. You will be walking in the light if you work with the federal government, and misinterpret the scripture of Romans 13. And so that's why this whole little story with Harold Camping, and Homeland Security being in attendance at his rallies is very, very interesting. Remember, it's all about the small print, the little headline, the little sentence that you see at the very end of the article. Now we're going to return to Pakistan. China comes to rescue of Pakistan after Osama killing. With its ally Pakistan under attack for its failure to locate the hideout of Osama bin Laden bin Bama near its capital, Islamabad, China today strongly came to its rescue, saying the global community should understand and support Islamabad's anti-terrorism efforts. On a deeper examination than the surface, we see this greater reality unfolding on cue, mind you. This is from blacklistednews.com. Headline reads, U.S., Pakistani, Chinese tensions are now growing. The immediate reaction by most across the world upon hearing of bin Laden's death was that America now had the excuse it needed, real or not, to gracefully depart from its disastrous war on terror. However, the architects behind America's foreign military adventures over the past several decades have already begun clamoring about the need to not only expand their global war, but to implicate Pakistan as being complicit in harboring the mythological Osama bin Laden. Enter China. Fellow corporate financier, policy maker Selig Harrison of the Soros-funded Center, we'll talk about Soros again in a minute, for International Policy, openly called for the carving up of Pakistan in two reports earlier this year. Harrison specifically mentions China's growing influence in Pakistan and how it is undermining America's interests throughout the region. This entire confrontation between the U.S., Pakistan, and China comes just weeks after China openly accused the West of interfering in its international affairs. What will most likely unfold next is a series of attempts to leverage concessions from Pakistan, further isolate nationalist elements, and reestablish control over Pakistan and Afghanistan. You'll have to excuse me now. Why is this taking place now as we're getting more reports about the plummeting of the dollar? Could it have been done to boost the dollar? This was asked days ago. Now here's the headline from CNBC. Even the mainstream media is asking that very important question. With the death of Osama bin Laden, U.S. forces entered a nearly 10-year worldwide hunt for the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks. This boosted the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status, at least only for now. I mean, you give a heroin addict a little bit of dope, they might take the shakes off for a little bit. If you think that's going to last forever, maybe even the junkie knows it's not going to last forever. Why would we? That's because we're still in the disease of thinking we can print this way out of this. We can fight this way out of this. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but millions of susceptible minds across this country. China tells West to start obeying U.S. resolution in Libya. That's also in the news. China is not in favor of the arbitrary interpretation of the United Nations Security Council's resolutions, nor any other actions that go beyond the Council's mandate concerning Libya. China calls for complete and strict implementation of the Security Council's resolutions, stating that the international community should respect the sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity of Libya. Okay, having said that, I encourage you to call in tonight. We only have about 26 minutes left. I'd love to hear from you, 503-288-4442. If you'd like to watch a show again or other shows for new viewers, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/AlexAnswer. I'm still looking for a webmaster, still looking for a working computer. Due to my lack of interest in material things and running like a hamster on a wheel for Federal Reserve notes, sometimes producing this show is not as easy as it used to be in the past. So keep that in mind for those with extra computers gathering dust somewhere in your basement. It would surely help the progress of Outside the Box TV, live on the air, PCM, on PCM. For about 6 years now, we're approaching show 300 in several weeks. And I'm looking forward to that. Despite all the turbulence, despite all the things taking place, I am eternally grateful to the true powers that be. The true powers that be, that is. We're not talking about the eye on the top of the pyramid. I am grateful to those energies that led my heart, my intuition towards this facility. And I look forward to future broadcasts on the air despite what takes place on the planet, because I view myself, why I'm here, to provide a little bit of hope and clarity as to what's going on, but remind you that we're under spiritual warfare. So instead of responding with fear, respond with love. Love your fellow man, love your fellow woman, whether they're your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your daughter, or they're related to you, okay? We may think we're strangers, okay, in this zombified world. We may shut down because of what's going on out there. If we do so, if we let them take us down, the way the country's going down, the way the towers went down on 9/11, they went. Always remember this when you feel psychologically tortured by the events taking place. It's a master plan. It's a systematic plan. If you weren't so special, if you weren't so conscious deep down inside, there would be no reason to do this. There would be no reason to poison your pineal gland through the poisons in the air, food, and water. You are a special cosmic being that has come from the stars. The art that's in you, your imagination, the diversity of language, the diversity of things that we create, other than bombs and weapons of war and distraction, we are amazing sentient beings, conscious beings, whether we're fully conscious or not. We are conscious beings. We are telepathic, psychic beings. This is why you see so much in pop culture. You see so much in Hollywood. You see so much in comic books. You see so much in fiction that has been written years ago that is now manifesting. It's far beyond Orwell. It's far beyond Huxley. It's far beyond Mr. Dick, Philip K. Dick. It's in you. It's in me. It's in a lot of these things. You think that people weren't a little bit psychic around the time of Y2K? An event in time that I believe was a government-sanctioned hoax. Cry wolf scenario to take you off the real trail when the world was really shifting, really changing, really transforming in a more intense direction. But the world was changing around 99, 2000, 2001. I went through a major shift in my life. I chose a new route in life, coming around 2003, 2004, 2005, then moving to where I am now. And now I can feel also the energetic signature of the cycle and shift that we're in now, and thinking about being a conscious sentient being in control of my own destiny as we hold the steering wheel of life with our own hands, choosing to not let others persuade us in how we're going to turn the wheel. our world did shift after Y2K, even though the lights didn't go out. The government staged an attack against our country and murdered 3,000 people. And America really moved into the existence of the Americult. And that is the point in time where millions of people across the globe begin to walk on a more spiritual, less selfish path. Because when you wake up to that we live in this type of a world, if you're a conscious, sentient being with a heart that you allow to feel, you cannot turn away from what is taking place. You cannot remain silent while millions die for a lie. You cannot remain